What is up? It is Wex Appeal, Barbells, Beats, and Buffoonery, episode number 11, where we talk to wildlife expert, animal expert, Corbin Maxey. He is a biologist. He is a TV personality. He runs his own reptile rescue reserve. He's awesome. I had such a fun time talking to him, and we cut up and talked about animals. We talked about insects. We talked about fitness. We talked about everything, and had a great time with Corbin. If you have not checked him out, definitely go do that. All you have to do is go to YouTube, search Corbin, Corbin, Maxey, Maxey. All his videos will pop up. Listen, they're like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then he has longer format shows, but incredible content, a lot of fun to watch. He's just a ball of energy. The guy's awesome. So go check it out. And the cool thing is we recorded the podcast, and then later on in the week, he actually took over the Today Show and Today Animals on Instagram, took over their accounts and actually ran their accounts for the day. This was on Wednesday, December, what is today? The 17th. I'm recording this. So on the 16th, he actually took over their IG Live and was on Today's Show, doing his thing, showing animals and giving some amazing animal tips for the holidays. So go check him out. CorbinMaxey.com is actually where you can see all of his stuff, and then search him on Instagram, TikTok. Go find him on TikTok. And I'm trying to do some more social media stuff, so he gave me some good tips and pointers on things to kind of get the Wex Appeal broadcast out there. So my guest today is Corbin Maxey. Check it out. Had a lot of fun. Before that, we got a little spot with the sponsors, and we'll be right back. What's up, YouTube? This is just for you. This isn't going to be on the podcast. So this is just for you at home to hear me talk about Duke Cannon Supply Company. So Duke Cannon Supply Company is my go-to toiletries. I love them. I use them for soap. I use them for cologne and lip balm, you name it. If you saw it on the other episode, I had the giant cannon bomb, which is awesome. But right now I'm going to show you one of my favorite products, not even of just Duke Cannon, one of my favorite products of all time. My wife is highly allergic to most colognes or perfumes. So she used to work at a grocery store, and old ladies would come in with their perfumes, and literally her throat would close up, nostrils, everything. She couldn't breathe. Really bad allergic reaction. So I can't buy spray cologne. If I get cologne, she has to buy it because I have to check with her to make sure that she's not allergic to it. I don't want to kill my wife. I love my wife. So she would have to buy it and whatever. Well, now I've come across this thing in Duke Cannon, and it's called Solid Cologne. I'd never heard of this before until I was on their website. It's concentrated cologne balm, and if you're looking at it on the screen, it's this. It's in this little tin can, which is awesome. So it's just a little wax. And what you do is you just rub a little bit on your fingers, put it on the neck, rub it, just a little dab will do you. And it's awesome. Solid Cologne lasts forever. I've had this for probably about a month or two, probably 2 months. I've had this stuff and still using it every single day, and it looks like brand new. Just a little bit taken out in the middle. Love this stuff. Definitely go hook it up. Go to Duke Cannon Supply Company. Actually, DukeCannon.com is the way to go. You can find a link in the bio on the Instagram page. That'll do a direct link, take you straight to Duke Cannon through our website, or through me, and get hooked up with a promo code, which is BBWEX11. BBWEX11. Actually, I'm sorry, BBWEX10B is the promo code right now. BBWEX10B is going to get you 10% off, and it's the perfect solution for the holidays if you're looking to stuff your stockings. I messed that up so bad last time. To stuff your stockings, it's the perfect solution. They've got soap. You've heard of the laundry list of things that you can use Duke Cannon with. So definitely go there, hook it up. Buffalo Trace Solid Cologne is my recommendation. I also have the leather, and I also have the Buffalo Trace clinky little whiskey in the drink, which tastes amazing and is great to coat the throat for a podcast. Wink, wink. So get over there to Duke Cannon. Go check it out today. Promo code BBWEX10 B to get yourself 10% off for the holidays.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest today is a TV personality. He's an animal expert and a biologist, and you may have seen him on, there's many notable TV appearances that he's had, those being The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Late Night with Seth Meyers, The Today Show, Inside Edition, The Martha Stewart Show, Watch What Happens Live. With
I don't watch it either. Don't worry.
Yeah. I had to look down. I'm like, there's a whole list of things here. I'm like, let me check and make sure I got them all. But my guest today is Corbin Maxey. How you doing?
Hey, dude, I'm so good. Thank you for asking me to come on the podcast. I'm really excited today.
Absolutely. Kind of like I told you before, it's very surreal. Me being a new podcast host and interviewing people and talking to them when really my only interaction with you has been just watching YouTube. And so you talk to me, but now it's like, oh, like I'm talking back now and can actually, we can interact and have some conversations. So thank you so much for being on the show and agreeing to do this. That's awesome.
It's such a relief because usually I'm on the other end of the spectrum interviewing people for my podcast, Animals to the Max.
Yeah.
So it's nice being able to just like, yeah, you just wanted to talk to me. I'm like, man, let's talk animals. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah. And that's some of the other, accolades. I mean, you're a busy man. From everything that I see, you do a lot. So you have a podcast, the Animals to the Max, and then on your Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, you're doing the Animal Nights Live.
Yep. That, dude, it's been insane, man. It's been crazy. I don't know how. Yeah, I run around like a crazy person.
So how many shows? Like, is that all the shows that you have, or do you have other things going on?
Yeah, dude. So it's insane. So honestly, what happened? So the podcast I've had we're on our 4th season. So nearly 3 years, Animals to the Max. And that has been so much fun. And a podcast, it was one of those things where you kind of jump into it and you're like, I don't know where this is going to go, but let's see what find out that people are listening around the world. Then you have like one person from Norway and then Australia. You're like, wait a second, people are listeing to me. It's amazing.
It's funny you mentioned that because I actually got a message this morning. I was at the gym, and I also coach CrossFit and I coach the 5 a.m. class.
Oh man!
And I get a message on my phone from the Netherlands. He's like, "Hey man, great podcast with Tommy and da da da." All this stuff. I was like, "This guy's in the Netherlands listening to me talk to people. This is surreal." It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I love it. So yeah, so the podcast keeps me really busy, but we started Animal Nights Live, which is basically an animal late night show. It's a late night format. We started that back in March because of COVID and I was stuck at home. And I mean, honestly, I love doing live appearances. I love appearing on these national shows. And with COVID, it put a complete kibosh to it. And dude, honestly, I was getting antsy, like my creative mind. I wanted to talk about animals and I was like, what can I do? And I was like, I've always wanted to host like a late night style format where I interview animal experts, other animal experts and have animals on and interact with an audience. And I thought, I'm just going to do it. So I went on Amazon, I bought a New York backdrop, got some studio lights, and we're almost in our 40th week of doing Animal Nights Live. And that airs every Thursday night on my Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern.
That's awesome. Now, as I said, I'm the 5 a.m. coach, so I don't pick that up live.
I don't blame you.
10 o'clock Eastern time, I'm in bed.
Dude, I get it.
Get up at 4 a.m., but we could pick it up on the, because it posts to the page so you can go back and watch it. Yeah. So real quick before we kind of get into everything, so tell people where they can find that, like where they can find you on Instagram and on Facebook, YouTube, and all those.
Yes, and we have to mention TikTok. It's my claim to fame, apparently. I mean, that's yeah, I'm just kidding. But
no. I'm just now getting into TikTok, and I'm far too old, is what I'm finding.
No, dude, you're not too old, man. You know what's so funny with TikTok is my wife was like, you need to do TikTok. And I was like, honey, one more platform. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't have time. And I literally just put some stuff to music, and it just blew up for us. So I'm just, so TikTok's been great. But so you can find me on Instagram at Corbin Maxey, CorbinMaxey, not I. And dude, I know I got teased forever being called Maxi Pad back in the day. So I always have to say EY. You can find me on Facebook as well. And then on TikTok, it's just Corbin_Maxey. And that's how you can literally just follow me, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and you get to see all of the stuff we get to do with the animals every week.
Absolutely. And I highly recommend doing that. If you're listening, go subscribe, because I was telling you before, kind of before we started the recording, my family has been sitting down watching your videos and absolutely loving it. Your Animal Night live videos are longer, but you're also putting out tons of YouTube, like little 2 to 5 minute, like right with my kids' attention span videos, the 2 to 5 minute format, which they're just eating up and loving. Even my 3-year-old even this morning was like, I want to watch Snappy and the gummy worms.
So cool, man. It's so cool because honestly, I have so much on my plate with the podcast, Animal Nights Live, and we film for YouTube, like you said. So to hear when people like comment or say they enjoy the content is so awesome. I have so much fun with YouTube. I love those quick videos. I love the quick edits. Like and I have to give a shout out to my buddy Elias. He's a YouTube star. He's a full-time YouTuber. So they really took me in and kind of taught me the tricks of the trade, because as you know, Animal Nights Live is an hour-long show because I love just blabbing about animals. But
sure,
kids don't have an hour-long attention span. So 2 to 3 minutes is good for us on YouTube.
And that's and kind of segueing into how I came across your page in the first place is, so obviously I'm into CrossFit and fitness and kind of following all those things. And I follow Robert Obrist, Obi, on his Instagram, and I saw I saw a picture that he posted of you guys moving Sony.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, let me check this out. And then I went, so I, looked at the video or looked at the picture. I was like, oh, that's cool. Found the video, went and found the video, watched that. I'm like, this is really cool. And then I just started kind of going down the rabbit hole of watching all the different videos that you'd posted. And I was like, man, this is awesome. So kind of we're going to go into the Wayback Time Machine here.
Let's do it.
In going back and watching your videos and kind of seeing where you came from, and then kind of like doing my research and looking and seeing where you started. You started the reserve at 12.
Yes, man. 12 years old.
How does a 12-year-old have the wherewithal to, first of all, start a wildlife reserve or a rescue reserve, and like obviously your parents were supportive of it, or maybe not. Like I don't know how that went down, but tell me, how did that happen?
Yeah, so really quick. So I had a very unusual childhood. I grew up in Roby Creek, Idaho, which is just in the middle of nowhere. So imagine a cabin in the middle of the woods. Like we had an outhouse, and my mom hates when I say this, but we had an outhouse for the first year. I know I said that recently during an interview. She's like, why are you telling people that? I was like, Mom, it's relatable. But so we lived in the middle of the woods, man. And so when most people had friends, I didn't have any friends. I was out catching, and I didn't know any better. And I love my childhood, by the way, but I was catching frogs and snakes and lizards, and we always had animals. Like we had a potbelly pig, ducks. I had chickens, pigeons, pheasants. I had a green iguana, cats, rabbits, guinea pigs. Like we just were an animal household. And as long as I was responsible, my parents allowed me to have these animals. And so at 12 years old, we were at a pet store in Meridian, Idaho, and I overheard a guy trying to give away this ball python to the pet store owner, the pet store reptile guy. Yeah. The guy's like, we don't have room for it. And I was like, Dad, can we get this ball python? And he's like, whatever. Okay. So we followed this guy back to his shady apartment in Meridian, Idaho, to get this snake. And at 12 years old, I got this snake. His name was Reggie, a ball python. And to this day, that snake is still alive. And it blows my mind because he was old when I got him. So he's well into his late 20s, early 30s for a ball python, which they only live to be, I don't know, in their 20s. So he's a pretty old snake, but that snake started it all.
Wow. Okay. That kind of leads me to some of my other questions a little bit later. But so I've seen in some of your videos that you have like Shere Khan.
Yep.
And the first video of Sony that I saw was on Jay Leno.
On Leno, man.
And he was very small in comparison to what he is now. So like, what are some of the oldest animals? I don't want to say oldest, but like
the ones that. Yeah. So, okay. So I guess basically to back up. So I rescued Reggie at 12. At 13, so at 12, I was like, I should start a reptile reserve. And it was kind of like, and I love talking, dude. I love talking to people about animals. I would call the local YMCAs and be like, can I come talk to my ball python? And dude, my get up was so funny. Like, and I was like, picture what I looked like. I was a short, chubby kid. I had super round. I was like as tall as I was round. I mean, whatever. I wore a safari hat, this giant, it looks like a cloak now, which we still have, with this giant shirt with an alligator, whatever emblem. And I would go and talk to schools and little local YMCA. So at 13, I had over 60 different animals living in my parents' bonus room. And God bless my parents, because they were amazing. And, you know, and a lot of people are like, how did you get all those animals? Well, I mean, honestly, when the word gets out that you are taking in unwanted reptiles, the gates just flood. I mean, I had a baby alligator. I even had a piranha, which is not a reptile, but still cool. Sure. I had Shere Khan, the big Burmese python, albino Burmese python, had all these exotic animals. And so at like I said, at 13 years old. And so some of the oldest animals I have include, Shere Khan, the big python, some turtles, some of our tortoises, Tinkerbell, and they live a long time. So some of those animals will be passed down to my kids one day.
Wow. That's incredible. So you start this reserve at 12. And not long after that, you ended up on Leno. So
dude, it was the weirdest thing. So I grew up watching the Crocodile Hunter. That is one thing we had. We had like a dish in the middle of the woods, and for some reason, it would pick up Animal Planet. So I remember loving watching the Crocodile Hunter. Sure. I love Jack Hanna. But I never saw myself doing that. A kid in Idaho, I never grew up being like, that's what I want to do. I loved animals, and I don't know. So I had all these rescued animals, and my mom, huge fan of The Tonight Show, came across a talent scout audition, and they were looking for teenagers with weird or unusual talents. And so my mom submitted me as a weird teenager. I had no idea. My mom pitched me, and she showed me the email after she said, hey, I kind of submitted you for something, hope you don't mind. But it was the best pitch. She wrote The Tonight Show because they were doing some audition, and she said, and she pretended to be me. She said, hey, I'm Corbin Maxey, and at the time I just turned 14. So I'm 14 years old. I have all these exotic rescued animals. Call me the next crocodile hunter, ... or just call me. Yeah. Smart. It was a good pitch. It wasn't this long. And a week later, I got a call from The Tonight Show, and I thought it was a prank. And I'm like, what? This isn't real. And I was like, this, you know what I mean? And the producer had this big, deep voice and like, hi, this is Steve from The Tonight Show. And I'm just like, what? This is a prank. And long story short, a couple months later, I ended up on Leno. And that was after submitting some audition tapes. And they said, Corbin, you're not really what we're looking for this teenage segment. And I was like, oh, crap, that sucks. But they said, how about we give you a guest spot, so like a second guest spot behind a celebrity. I was like, what? I was like, of course. So I was on The Tonight Show at 14 years old. Guess who the celebrity was, man? I was 14 in high school.
Well, I know, because I saw some of your other videos.
Pamela Anderson, man. My first encounter with the celebrity, she looked just as good as she did on TV. I mean, I just remember she had this glow about her, and I don't know. Yep. It was just so cool. I was like, what? I did Leno, and I thought it would be a one-time thing. Like, I thought, this is my, I'm just doing it one time. And I remember the lights turned off, the cameras turned off, and I was looking over at Jay. I was looking at the audience, and I thought, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I had found my calling. It was the weirdest thing. I just was like, this is what I want to do. So I've been pursuing a career working with animals and educating people about them on TV ever since.
Yeah. And then you became a producer. So,
the
Live with the Reptile guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, man, talk about a journey.
It's been a journey, man. It really has. And I appeared on Leno several times after that initial appearance, but it was one of those things where I did learn the harsh realities of TV, because when I was on Leno at 14, I was like, this is great. I'll just get a show on Animal Planet, and my dreams will be, I'll be great. I'll be able to travel the world, and you know what I mean? And it just, I learned the tough reality of the business. And it took me 3.5 years to get back on Leno from that appearance at 14, but I just continued to persevere, and I just would continue to go. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So, but in between that, I started Live with the Reptile guy, because I was like, well, I'm not on Leno, so why don't I start a public access TV show? And it was amazing. Some of the best years of my life.
Well, I mean, you're very personable.
Thank
I
you.
mean, the way that you talk, definitely people want to listen, and just your excitement, just in general. I mean, for animals as well, but just the way that you carry yourself has that exciting personality. So I definitely see why these shows have taken off, for sure. Now, I've been to Idaho.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
only one time. I loved it. I would, love to go back at some point. We went to, actually went with a group to Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, we just got back from Coeur d'Alene last week. That's
Yeah,
amazing, dude.
it's
Northern Idaho.
beautiful. Yeah, I mean, just gorgeous.
Hmm.
I will be honest, reptiles are not the first thing that I thought of as
No.
being like something that's in Idaho. And I'm from Florida. So, we know all about the gators here, as
Yep.
far as, I mean, you will happen across them anywhere, anytime. You can run into a gator depending on where. So obviously when I started watching your videos, I'm like, he's in Idaho. How does that work? Alligators and reptiles. So tell me, so how long have you had Sony?
So I've had Sonny for 13, 14 years, and he's almost 20 years old. Yep.
And you had him out, obviously had him outdoors in that pen. So the video that I saw, you were actually moving him from the outdoor pen, indoor pen. So not being as big of a nature guy, obviously, how does that work? How do they survive in that kind of climate?
Yes. And by the way, so all of my animals are exotic. So none of them are native to Idaho, just so your listeners know. And with the alligators, they are rescues. So Sonny was actually living in a bedroom in Boise. He was a little under 4 feet. I showed up. He didn't have any water. I think the people had good intentions, but he just outgrew his tank where he was, and he was living in this bedroom. And so I got Sonny when he was a little under 4 feet. And I remember I was a senior in high school, and I got Sonny. And so so we had Sonny indoors for a little bit. We actually moved facilities. So in 2012, we packed up and we moved out to the Snake River in Marcine, Idaho, which is around an hour outside of Boise. And on the property that my parents owned, we have natural geothermal water. So which means we have a natural hot spring. So it was like meant to be that we had this natural hot springs. And so my parents had bought this house on the river. And the house had this old defunct homemade hot tub that it never really worked, but it was like this hot tub. It was a pretty big area, pretty big pool, but it turned out it looked like the perfect alligator exhibit. So we built land around it, double fenced it, and for 8 years, Sonny lived in an outdoor exhibit under the Idaho elements. We have warm summers, very cold winters, but he was under this hot water, so his pond would be steaming, because right now it's like 20 degrees outside, and he would be in this hot tub. And as alligators do, they grow. So we put him in there. He was probably 6.5 feet. Now he's like 10.5, almost 11 feet. So it was time for us to move him. And so we just moved him and my other female chompers into our brand new facility, which is 1,000 square feet. It's like, dude, I wish I could move into this place. It's like heated, 38-foot long pool. It's just amazing. So that's what we did. And that's the video you saw.
If you're listening to this, go to the YouTube and watch those two of moving both of them. They're great videos. I mean, I do talk a lot about fitness on the show just because that's one of the things I do. But, what are kind of the things that you do? Is it just working with the animals constantly, or do you have your own routine?
I do.
Stay in shape to handle these animals? Because, I mean, you gotta have some muscle to
100%
jump on the back of an 11-foot alligator.
Dear God, do you ever? So I do. So I was really pudgy, as you mentioned earlier, for my first Leno appearance, and then
that was off air, so people.
Oh, it was off air. Yeah. So I talked to Wex, and he was like, "Hey, you're pretty fat." No, I'm kidding. You didn't say that. I was healthy. I joke around. I had a passion for animals and cheeseburgers when I was 14. So fitness has always been a big deal for me. Actually. And this was the coolest class in high school. They had a class called Lifetime Fitness, and it was a 2-hour block. And we got to go to a gym, Gold's Gym, and we got credit for it. That's when I learned about fitness. And I was addicted, man. So from then on, 17 on, I've honestly taken it seriously. So every day I run. So honestly, right before I got on with you, I was on the treadmill. Yeah. And I alternate. So I'll run. I love running outside. Right now it's a little too cold and it's a little icy. And then I also lift weights. I do free weights as well. I think it's so important. And it's honestly, that's like my natural drug. If I do not work out, I'm in a weird mood. It's really crazy. I don't feel like myself.
Oh, I know that feeling very well. As life of a CrossFit coach, there are days where I'm like, no, I just have to go to the gym, and
I have to.
It just doesn't matter what's going on. I got to get in there, throw some weight, and I feel way better after.
Dude, so much better. And my wife doesn't understand it because there'll be times when she's like, let's jump out of bed and do this. I'm just like, honey, I'm sorry. I need to run, or I have to. Like, I think my mind just goes so fast and I just have so much energy that I need to do that. And I feel like if anyone's stressed or depressed, exercise is the best thing, man. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah. And it's funny, like I'll get into certain workouts and like my mind just starts to clear, and like I can literally think about things while I'm doing a workout, or if I'm on a run. I don't run as much anymore. I trained for half marathons and things like that. I ran my first half marathon and was like, I'm good. I don't anymore. That was awful. But I felt like I'd prepared very well for it. But I got done with it and I was like, man, I got my medal. I'm good to go on this one. Mark that one off the bucket list. But while running, doing a 2-3 mile run, man, I just sit there and just process thoughts and I can clear my head completely on a run and come back and feel great.
Dude, I love it. And before any TV appearance, anything I do, I always run. And once again, my wife thinks I'm crazy. So because of COVID, I've had to start shooting the Today Show appearances in my backyard, which means to do East Coast time, it's like super early. We film at 7 a.m. But dude, I have to get up. So at 5 a.m., I'm running in the pitch black in the middle of the country because I have to get that workout in. Even when I used to fly back to New York, that is so important. And exercise is so important. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah. So, as far as, so you said free weights, running, are kind of that you do. So how many, and I think you may have mentioned this, but how many animals do you have currently on the reserve?
So do you want me to count the cockroaches or not the cockroaches? Because we have over 1,000 if you want me to count the cockroaches.
Wow. No, we'll just go with the I don't want to say it's not furry animals because this is reptiles as well. But we'll go with the non-insect.
Okay, perfect.
Go from there.
So I have over 30 different animals. The majority are rescues. So that includes 2 alligators, 4 large sulcata tortoises. They're the big ones you see from Africa. Albino Burmese python. So I have Shere Khan, a normal phase Burmese python, several smaller snakes, a monitor lizard, an iguana, a pet turkey named Tom, who has his own fan base, which is insane. Napoleon, a 6-foot-tall emu, smaller turtles. I ended up with like 5 tarantulas now, which is insane. So I'm trying to find homes for a few of those. Tailed whip scorpion, tree skink, a blue tongue skink, a bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah. So one of the questions, and this is actually from my wife, it was pretty talking to her, and she's like, has there ever been an animal that you came across that maybe surprised you? Either you liked it more than you thought you would, or you didn't like it, as much as you thought. Like, it's like an animal that kind of sticks out there. You're just like, you had a different expectation before you came in contact with it.
Oh, that's okay. That's such a good. Okay. So it wasn't that I was disappointed with the animal, and oh my God, I might get hate for this, but okay. So sloths, I love working with sloths, but a lot of people don't realize that sloths are mean. They're not nice. Nice. I have worked with sloths numerous times on the Today Show. We've done other press in New York. Wonderama is a kids' TV show, and I love the sloth I get to work with. He's great. His name is Albert, but he's cranky. And that is an animal that, when you look in media, you see sloths smiling and they look so cute. And people are like, all I want to do is cuddle a sloth. And it's like, no, you don't. They're not nice. So that is one animal that it wasn't disappointing, but I was kind of shocked. Like, I was like, oh, this is, they're not nice. And that was something. Some animals that blow my mind, the intelligence. I work with a great bird handler. His name is Fung Lu. He's back east. So when I do the Today Show, he has these amazing birds that do these amazing behaviors. Like he had a pair of blue jays build a nest fly sticks on top of Kathy Lee Gifford's head before she left the Today Show.
Yeah.
Just insane. So the intelligence of some animals really shocks me. Like those types of birds, crows are like one of the most intelligent animals in the world. They can talk, problem solve. So those are animals that are, when you learn about them, those really open your eyes. You're like, I had no idea that these animals are so intelligent until you dig deep into the research and learn about them.
Huh. So now on the basis of, wild animals and things that you've come in contact that have surprised you, you also have come across a lot of celebrities.
Yes.
Any of those interactions with animals and celebrities that surprised you that you could talk about? We don't want to put anybody on blast, but that was just like that they were like really cool with it, or they were just like, yeah, you just go ahead and stay away.
Oh gosh. I've met so many celebrities doing this, and everyone's been pretty nice. A lot of people ask me how the Today Show people are. The Today Show people are so nice.
Yeah.
Seth Meyers is great. I've ran into Seth so many times. It's like really weird how many times I've ran into Seth Meyers. Like I've been walking around New York in Manhattan, which is home to 8 million people, and I have run into Seth Meyers just at the park. It's really weird. I was on that show, Watch What Happens Live, with Andy Cohen. And they have a celebrity guest, and we were waiting to hear the announcement, like, oh, I hope it's a cool, celebrity. And it was like, the guest that night is Seth Meyers. And it was like, we like ran into each other in the elevator. It's like, hey man, how's it going? Like, and we probably both were like, oh man, it's you again. So anyway, so Seth is great. There hasn't been any, some people are standoffish when you work with the animals. Tyra Banks is a great example of someone who, she was awesome. Yeah. She was so nice, but she didn't want anything to do with the animals. She was terrified. Like the producers wanted her to feed a baby wallaby, and she's like, she did not. She's like, I'm good. But she was nice, but definitely like standoff. Yeah. Like I don't. Another one that comes to mind is Jennifer Lopez. Okay. I did a show in front of her, which I'm not usually that starstruck, but it's Jennifer Lopez, man.
Yeah.
It's like. It's what? And she looks, as you can imagine, as stunning as ever. And she sat, and she was a surprise. So A-Rod, her fiance, the old baseball player, he was co-hosting with Kathy Lee and Hoda. So he was there. I knew I was working with A-Rod, and then the surprise was Jennifer Lopez was there. And I remember she sat in a director chair and just watched the whole segment. And I just remember... I remember afterwards, and by the way, I usually don't do this because when you work with celebrities, you don't want them to, you don't want to be giddy and be like, hey, can I get a picture? So you just treat them like normal people. But for Jennifer Lopez, I'm like, dude, I want to get a picture. So I was like, hey, like trying to get her attention, like, you want to come meet the animals? And she just was like, she was nice. She's like, get away from me, with the biggest bodyguard I've ever seen, dude.
Yeah.
Guy was massive. But Jennifer Lopez's mom was cool. She's like, I'll get in the photo. And I'm like, screw it. I'll get Jennifer Lopez's mom. So I have a picture with J-Lo's mom holding an alligator. It's like, whatever. The closest I am to her. So that was kind of cool.
That's cool. And like, again, going through your videos and watching things, I'm like, man, I know he's with them, like tons of celebrities. So that's awesome. So I was going to ask you, are there any that got you just like, kind of that starstruck moment, obviously J Lo, would be one of them.
The first lady, former first lady Laura Bush was really cool.
Yeah,
and she's so poised. She's so presidential, man. When she walks in, she's just like walked in, just like a boss. And I remember my producer emailed me the day before. So for security, because she has Secret Service, they couldn't tell anybody. So the day before, he's like, hey, don't tell anybody, but the former first lady is going to do that. She wants to do the segment with you. And I was like, what? So when she walked in, I was talking to my producer, and all of a sudden these guys in black come up and say, hey, walk straight ahead, take a right, don't look behind you. And my producer's like, okay, just walk ahead. He just like, he's like, okay, just listen to them. And that's when she, and of course I like peeked once I was behind the corner. I was like, who's here? And it was her, but she was amazing. And she was so presidential, and she was so nice. And that's someone who was just like, this is an icon. And another person who sticks out, Megyn Kelly, who she was like one of the nicest people I've ever met. Like one of the nicest like so nice. Like I just can't tell you how nice she was. I just loved working with her. So
That's awesome. So if I were, I'm sure you have a bucket list as far as animals are concerned. So what are some animals that you maybe haven't worked with yet that are kind of on that bucket list that you're like, man, I would love to have an opportunity to kind of interact with those animals.
So you mean to bring on TV or to see out in the wild?
Or maybe that you've just never been. I mean, I don't know. You've probably had access to a lot of, zoos and being able to go and interact with animals. But is there an animal that you haven't yet, whether it be out in the wild or being able to work with, that you've just been like, man, I would love to work with that animal, but I haven't gotten the opportunity yet?
Out in the wild, a leopard. It evaded me twice in Africa, man. I want to see a leopard so bad. I mean, and they just, so a leopard, to see one out in the wild would be phenomenal. To see wild dogs out in Africa. I love Africa. It's an amazing place. I'd highly recommend people to go there. I think, I'm obsessed with hippos. So every time I get to work with a hippo, it's insane, man. I got to feel the fat. I don't even know what to call it. Like a giant hippo named Herbie opened his mouth. He lives at the Toledo Zoo, and I just got to feel the inside of his mouth, and it was like gelatinous. It was, I was on cloud nine. I remember calling my mom. I was like, this is the best day of my life. And it was just, it was so cool, man.
I saw somebody post a video about a hippo, and I've watched so much now. I don't know if it was on your channel or on someone else, of the fact that they can swim like crazy fast.
Oh yeah.
And it was going along in a boat, and you just see the swell under the water, and it just rose up out of the water. And
I think that was mine, dude. Because it was terrifying. They scare you in Africa, because they capsize boats, and the water's murky, and you're in this little boat, and they're like, we don't know where the hippos are, and hippos kill more people in Africa than I think crocodiles might take the reign now. I looked at a new stat, but hippos and crocodiles are the most dangerous. So, but hippos, they come out on land, and they're surprisingly silent. So in Africa, you have to. A Maasai warrior, which just doesn't make any sense to me. He walks you to your cabin, and all he has is a stick, and you're just wondering, like, what would really happen if, like, this guy, if something, you know what I mean? He's like, all dressed up in this quilt, and it's quilt. That's probably not the right attire. You know what I mean? He's like in this robe with a stick. But they walk you, for safety, because they graze out on the land at night to eat the grass. But they're so incredibly silent. But other animals, I'd love to see jaguars in the wild, pink river dolphins. I'd love to swim with manatees. I know that's something that you have in Florida. That would be amazing. I have a whole bucket list. Mountain gorillas, dude, are high up there. To go in Rwanda, and there's only like 600 of these animals left. That's a bucket list for sure.
It's funny that you mentioned the pink dolphins. My daughter actually just did research on pink dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
I need you to find me a picture and pull it up so that I can put it in my report. And so she was doing research on, I forget, where are they? Are they in
Amazon?
Yeah, I was going to say South America.
Yep.
And she was like, I need this pulled up. And so I was pulling up pictures of pink dolphins. So it's funny that you mentioned those. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 11, and she loves animals. She's huge into horses. Like, horses are her thing. Like, she spends the summers up in Massachusetts with my mother, and goes to a horse camp, and absolutely loves it. And she also has the severe ADD.
Okay.
And so when she's not around horses, she generally has to be medicated to kind of help her focus and like lock in on school and those things. And as a family, we're very much we're not against medication, but if we can find alternate solutions that are more natural, we would rather do a more natural solution. And the doctor that we went to go see was like, I don't like prescribing medicine to kids, but she needs it because she's suffering in school and she can't focus. And it's like she walks in a room and looks at something, but like 1,000 bells and whistles are just going off all around her that she can't shut off.
Oh man.
When she's around the horses, all of it goes away. Like, she is 100% like focused on the horses. And so we're actually talking to insurance and things like that about actual equine therapy.
So smart.
So we're trying to go that route because she loves horses so much. I mean, if she's not around horses, she's playing like she is a horse. Like she is all in on horses. So we're trying to definitely push her in that direction of being able to, kind of use that as a way to help her just be able to focus. And when horses are in the room, there's nothing else.
Animals are so therapeutic. There's a horse ranch right down the road from me that does that. And horses are great. And by the way, you won't have to worry about her getting boyfriends. They always say keep young teenage girls with horses, seriously, because that's like masculinity. Like it keeps them in line and away from trouble. So I would promote that horse business all the way through high school, man.
Yeah. My mom called me last summer. And so a little history on me. So my father, before he passed away, actually trained thoroughbred racehorses. So I grew up on horse farms until I was about 13. Unfortunately, he passed away of cancer. So we moved away from the farm, and I kind of lost the whole, horse culture. I wasn't on the farm every day. I wasn't, we ended up selling the horses that we had and things like that, and kind of moved into the city and kind of had to adapt a little bit. But my daughter is like a carbon copy of my dad.
Wow.
Gets around horses, and she is just a completely different person and is amazing with them. And she is, the whole summer, she's completely off her medication. Like,
that's great.
Around the horses. So as much as we can, we promote her getting out there and riding, and she doesn't even, not even riding. She wants to groom them. She wants to feed. She wants to do everything there is to do with horses. So it's been fun. But my mom called me last summer. It was the first summer that she did this. And she's like, I've got good news and bad news. I'm like, is she okay? She's like, oh no, she's fine. She's like, the good news is she's amazing with horses. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. She's like, the bad news is horses are really expensive.
Yep.
So you are in trouble.
Yep. They're called hay burners. The farmers around here call them hay burners.
Exactly. I've got a friend of mine who has 2 horses, and he's like, they're absolutely useless.
I know. I hate to break it to people, but you'll ask farmers about horses, and they're like, yeah, hay burners, 100%.
Yeah. He's like, and the horses he has are quarter horses, and he's like, you can't even ride them. Like,
funny.
They just sit around and they eat, and they're great. They're fun, but yeah, she is a completely different person. So I love it. And then you've got my 7-year-old who actually she's into everything. And the girl has no fear, like no fear. And I'm trying to think what it was. I want to say it was 2 years ago. So we have Gatorland here in Orlando. Yep. I don't know if you've ever seen it or been there.
Yeah, I've had their spokesperson Savannah Bone on the show a few times. Okay. She's the one with bleach blonde hair, kind of looks like a hooker. I'm kidding. If Savannah hears that, she'll laugh because she makes that joke. But seriously, like wild makeup, and she's with the alligators. Like, hey guys, I'm Savannah, and she's amazing, by the way. We're friends.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we went down there, and they have a place where you can go and actually feed the gators, and they call them all up, and they come into this little ravine area, and you hand them, half a chicken and throw it out into in there. And I want to say she was 5 or 6. No, it wasn't last year. So she had to have been 5. It had to have been like 2 or 3 years ago. And I've got a picture of her. And now I don't know why they wouldn't let the parents go with her. But I was able to stand there right at the fence. And she went in with one of the people, and she's like, I want to feed the gators. I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I want to feed the alligator. And she picked up a thing of chicken, threw it out into the little ravine area, and they were probably 5 feet from her. And she was sitting there holding her sign, and she's like, I survived Gatorland and fed the gators, and she was cool. As happy as could be. But yeah, no fear whatsoever. Yep. So it's awesome. And actually one of the this had to be like 4 years ago. Me and my wife went down to St. Thomas and actually got to swim with sharks.
So cool.
And that was phenomenal. So it was just a completely different experience. Nothing I've ever experienced before in my life, and it took some talking to get my wife in with them. It was nurse sharks and lemon sharks, so there was no fear that they were gonna really attack or anything. But it's still, you go under the water and it's unnerving seeing them come straight at you, and then like veer off.
So cool, man. That's a bucket list for sure.
What, swimming with sharks?
Yeah, I'd love to do that, but I don't think my wife wants to do it. I want to do the whole great white cage dive, and she's like, I'm good. She's like, and I'm like, honey, it would be an experience for a lifetime. She's like, I'm fine. Why would someone want to do that?
I don't. I would love to do it. My wife is probably in the same boat with your wife. She would not want to go in there, but I think it'd be incredible. As long as I'm in the cage. I would get a little nervous outside of the cage, with the people that do swim with sharks, like out in the wild, which I think is amazing and beautiful. But yeah, I would be a little nervous doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have friends who've done it, and they said that, I mean, when the great whites come up, their eyes are so human-like. It's very odd. They're not like this crazy predator. I've had several people say that who've done it, so I don't know. We'll see. One day I'll have to see for myself.
Yeah. Have you ever been down to like St. Thomas, that area?
No, I have not.
Oh,
no.
Man. The Virgin Islands are amazing.
That sounds amazing.
They actually have I think it's called Marine Land, which is right off of the like the north part of the island, like the northeast part of and they have like, and it was just like a little tank where you could get in and swim with the sharks. So it wasn't it wasn't open water, but they had an area for that. They had an area where you could actually feed. Well, they wouldn't let you feed, but they would let you come up and touch one of the giant sea turtles.
Oh yeah.
And I mean like giant sea turtles. Yeah. And the guy who actually took us as an instructor for the sharks, he's like, you don't have to worry about the sharks. He's like, the sea turtles will bite the piss out. And he picked up his hand. He's like, you see this scar right here? He's like, that's not from someone with sharks. He's like, that's from that jerk in the tank over there.
My God.
Because they had to medicate them for I think they had some sort of infection, so they had to give them like eye drops. There was some like, I forget what he had said the actual issue was that they were having, but they had to do these eye drops, and what you'd have to do is get to the back of the shell and hold the shell.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's two of them in the tank, so the other sea turtle would wait until you have hold of the other turtle. And they put the eye drops in, and he said you have to keep them at least out of the water for like a minute or 2 minutes or a certain amount of time, and you can't let go of them because it dilutes the medicine. And he waits until you get the turtle out of the water, and you do the drops, and he'll come up and sneak up silently behind you and just crank on, like just
oh crank. Man.
Like,
that's so funny.
He's like, he is a jerk. Kind of like you said with the sloths, they have kind of their own personalities. But so has there now, and this going back to your Instagram, has there ever been an instant with animals that you were like, I guess kind of like a fear for your life situation? I saw a few months back you had a close encounter with chompers.
I almost lost my middle finger. God. And my engagement tripled. Like the views of my story tripled. Like anytime I'm in any type of scary situation, people tune into that, man.
Oh yeah, people want to see. Like they like, oh, what happened? So so how bad was that? I mean,
it was pretty bad. Well, so I'm looking at my finger now. I don't think you could even see through Skype, but I'm not trying to flip you off or anything. You could kind of, I don't know if you could kind of see a scar, but so what I was doing is, I'm very active on Instagram. I love the whole story feature because I feel like it takes you a day in the life of me, working with the animals. Because I realized this a long time ago, like some things that I think is kind of boring or mundane, like, feeding the animals or this or that, someone who works in an office or someone who doesn't have animals, that's like so cool to them. So I was like, oh, I should just start documenting the stuff I do. So I was cleaning an alligator pool, Chomper's pool, and I was like, oh, I usually document it. And I was filming and I got too close. And what I did when I was filming her, and I've been working with alligators for 17 years, I've never had any crazy close calls with them. I was looking through, I was on Instagram stories and I was looking through that actual, like my phone screen. And there's a slight delay with Instagram. There's a slight delay with stories. So I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at my camera. And that's when she got my middle finger, and my finger, it just happened so quick. It filleted like a lobster. Ooh. And I remember hitting the ground, and I just wanted to make sure dude, it was bad. I saw flesh. I just was like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. And I honestly wish I would have recorded it. I mean, you could actually go on and you could see when she hit my phone, and then blood, my phone went everywhere, blood went everywhere. My phone was covered in blood. I snapped one photo and then I ran up to the house to just try to go bandage it up. I wish, thinking back now, I should have just recorded like a 1 minute thing for YouTube, like I just got bit and this is what happened, and because that would have probably just spiked my channel. But in that moment, my only concern was to make sure that, because I just wanted to make sure I still had a part of my finger.
Yeah, no, that's not a. I mean, it would be a cool story, but I mean, if there's a choice of losing a finger and not losing a finger, you're always going to choose the not losing a finger.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, it was my fault, and I take full responsibility. When you work with wild animals, my favorite saying, it's like working with a loaded gun. It could go off at any time. And it was 100% my fault. I got too close and I got too careless, and I was so mad. It was all for a stupid Instagram story. I was sitting there thinking, like, what in God's name am I, just to show Cindy Lou Who or whoever in her office that I'm cleaning an alligator pool and I almost lose my finger. But that's the day and age we live in. It's social media, so whatever.
Yeah. Now, did you have anybody backlash as far as, saying, as far as coming against the gator for it?
Oh,
because they're wild animals. Like, if you don't expect them to act wild, then, I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, I don't think I have backlash. I think that I had to announce it, and I remember I had to say something because I couldn't. I had a bandage on my whole. I mean, I had, like, you know what I mean. I had to say something about this. I had to address it, and I just think I did it right. I just accepted full responsibility. Yeah, I'm sure there were some people who thought, well, he should have known better, but it is what it is. When you work with animals, you never know. And
I don't backlash. I don't even mean backlash for you.
For chompers.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we live in a cancel culture where they're like, oh, that dog bit you, so we need to go put the dog down. I'm like, no, the dog was being a dog. Like,
not at all. People are usually all for the animals, so no one's ever like, oh, she needs to be euthanized. No, that was my fault.
Yeah. So, and I mentioned dogs. So you and I have one thing in common. And I sent you a picture of my dog.
Oh, yes.
American Pit Bull Terrier. So Zoe is. Now, it's funny. So Zoe has a white chest, and I have Stark. He's about 4 years old and has basically almost the opposite. So he has the dark chest. She has the white. I mean, they literally look like they could be brother sister.
Yep.
But that's one breed I think is completely misunderstood when it comes to dogs. I mean, and I just think in general it is how you raise them. So what's your take on the whole pit bull, breed?
Well, I inherited Zoe, so she came. Okay. So my wife's from Detroit. So Zoe was rescued from the slums of Detroit. No, I'm just kidding. But I always say that joke, and she's like, no, she did not have a hard life. She is the sweetest dog. I mean, they're the biggest cuddle bugs. I cannot tell you. I have fallen in love with this dog, and I've never. Like I said, so my wife had Zoe before, before I'd met her. So I literally inherited a pit bull. I never thought in a million years I would get a pit bull. Like, last breed of my mind, like, oh, I'm good. I don't, you know what I mean? Pit bulls have such a bad stigma. Yeah. She's the sweetest dog. She's a cuddle bug. For anyone who is, I mean, and I know this sounds bad, but I've even looked into it. They're pretty good apartment dogs. I mean, you have to take them on walks. Like, I mean, like, you have to give them exercise, but they're couch potatoes, and they don't require, I mean, something like a husky or a German shepherd, something that would be like tied up and crazy in like a small space. the dog does fine. And by the way, we don't live in an apartment, but I'm just saying that they can be decent apartment dogs. She's great. I just think you do need to be cautious. The thing with her, she does not get along with other female dogs. I don't know if it's a female pit bull thing, but that's something that we try to, she's not, I don't know, she's very protective. So that's the only downside, I think, with the breed. How does Stark do?
Stark is amazing. So
Really?
my 3-year-old, you would think he's a horse because my 3-year-old just drape across him, literally lay on his face. And he just lays there and takes it. He's like, this is my human. I will protect it. And so much so that if I'm like, just play wrestling around with the kids, he gets anxiety. Like he doesn't know what to do because he's like, wait, it kind of looks like you're hurting my human, but everybody's laughing. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. Do I need to come in and bite somebody? and he'll just sit there and he'll just like kind of grunt and make noises like, this is not cool. I'm just making sure my human's okay. And, but he is the most patient dog. We call him the goodest dog. He will just lay around. But when he gets into his like energy, we got to take him outside. And I literally can take him outside and just do that whole thing where you just kind of lower yourself like 2 inches and he just freaks out. Eyes go big and he just starts just doing circles around.
Oh, they love that. Yeah. Does he do good around other dogs though?
He does very well around other dogs. We haven't taken him like out to like a dog park. Actually, he's not allowed at dog parks because of his breed. So they don't allow you to bring those types of dogs to other parks around here anyways. But any interaction he's had with dogs he's been fine, especially at our house. He's okay. He's never really gone after another dog, but he's also very protective of us. So like anything, happens or goes wrong, he's on high alert. And just the way that he interacts with me, because he knows like in the house, I'm the alpha. He's like, I'm the one in charge. And he knows that when I'm, messing around with the kids or, like picking them up and throwing them on the bed or whatever, and, kind of tickling them and, just play wrestling. That's where he gets that kind of like, okay, things are okay, but I'm right here just in case I need to jump in. So he's very protective of the kids, which I'm a huge fan of. And anybody came in and they weren't laughing and playing and they were in serious danger, I wouldn't have pity for the person that came in the house, but I would feel bad for the person that came in the house and went after my kids because he would absolutely destroy someone.
They're great guard dogs, and I felt so bad. So we recently just went up to Coeur d'Alene, and my cousin Dominic was going to stay at the house, and he had never met Zoe. He's a teenager, so his schedule is completely whacked. It's like, well, okay, we'll see what happens. And he called us literally. He tried to walk in the house, and Zoe would not let him in the house. So my dad had to come over and assure everything. But they are the best guard dogs. They are fantastic, and they're so sweet.
Oh yeah. If he knows you, if he knows you, he absolutely loves you, and he will just bend over backwards. I mean, he'll get on his belly. I mean, he is just the sweetest thing. I'm a little upset that he's taken up a spot in the bed.
Oh, so he sleeps with you
sometimes, but I'll wake up, in the middle of the night at some point, and I'm like all curled up in the corner, and I'm like, what is going on? And I look down, and he's just sprawled out on the bed, completely.
Dude, they're cuddle bugs. So Zoe sleeps on a dog bed next to me, and every night, at least once or twice a night, she wakes me up because I have to tuck her back in. She sleeps with a blanket over her, and then she, wrestles around, and sometimes it gets, uncovers her. So she makes sure that I have to put a blanket over her, and then sometimes after she goes out in the morning, she'll come back up and cuddle with us, and she's so sweet. She has a place on the couch, but they're great dogs. Love pit bulls.
And they're little divas.
They are.
He is a little diva. One thing that he does, and this was told to me, is that so when I pet him, he always wants to put his paw on me.
Yeah.
So I've been told that that's them wanting to return, like them wanting to pet you, almost is what I've been told. I don't know if there's any truth. It could be a complete myth or farce. But every time I pet him, he wants to put his paw on me.
Oh,
Like he's wanting to, oh, you're petting me, I'll pet you too.
that's so cool.
He's very, and you can always see him thinking, and he's just one of the best animals I've ever had. I've had a Labrador, I've had a Jack Russell mix, and this dog by far is my favorite. I think my only thing with the female pit bulls, and I've talked to other owners, is them just not getting along with other dogs, with other female dogs. So we are conscious and make sure that we keep her secure and safe and stuff like that. But other than minus that, they're the best dogs I've ever had, 100%. Yeah. So, kind of, getting, we're getting a little long on the show, so we'll kind of start wrapping and getting to the end of it. But what are what you would say is myths of, I guess, of being an animal expert?
A lot of animals, you just want to be left alone. I'm always dealing with people, and it's so sad. And a lot of people, and so I mainly deal with reptiles, and so many people think they're just slow, they're dumb, there's nothing in there. And that's so far from the truth. My alligators are so smart. They recognize me. They come when I call their names. They're trained to eat from my hands. So there's a lot of intelligence, and a lot of people don't give them enough credit. And they recognize certain people. I had an iguana that hated my sister, that would chase after my sister, which he's like, I don't like her. So it's people don't realize that when you look at something, because a lot of people don't connect with reptiles. They just, they'll connect with something like a furry dog or a cat, but there's something in there. So that's something I try to debunk. My monitor lizard, he's about 90% potty trained. It blows people's mind that this lizard from Africa has a toilet in his, in his enclosure. So those are the types of things I do. And I love connecting people with my animals, and I love sharing those stories and sharing their names and making them personable, making them likable. I think that's really important, just to try to raise awareness about the animals. And that's why they're, great ambassadors for their species.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I noticed. Is there any animal that creeps you out, or is every single one of them? Because I saw you with the hissing cockroaches and the tarantulas.
Oh yeah.
It's just kind of is there one animal that's just ugh?
I don't know. So my buddy Tyler has a giant bird-eating spider, and it's a giant tarantula, and and they're known to be pretty aggressive. So when he was like, here, pick her up, I was a little like, okay. But at first I'm like, this is a really big tarantula. Other than that, it was fine. And he actually gave me a little baby bird-eating spider, which was a huge fight with my wife, but that's a story for a different day. But I think I think stuff like that. Sometimes birds, parrots, not that I'm scared, but they have a really nasty bite. And if they don't know you, they could, they could take a finger off. So sometimes, and you can't judge their behavior as much. So sometimes those make you a little nervous, but other than that, not really, I'm not really freaked out by much.
Yeah. It seems like you're pretty comfortable around, everything, with them. Now, is your wife, or is she kind of let you handle, does she let you handle all the animals, or is she pretty comfortable around everything as well?
Oh, she loves the cats. So when we get to go back and work with clouded leopard cubs or tigers, or, she loves the furry stuff. So she like the penguins and stuff. But my wife's amazing. I don't know. She's signed up for this crazy life with me. So she's always behind the scenes filming me, and I get her in these crazy situations. She helps me out with my live animal shows. And anyway, so she's amazing, best friend. But she's pretty comfortable around them. She hates the spiders, but a lot of people don't like them, so I get it.
Yeah, no, I understand. My brother is an arachnophobiac. It doesn't matter how big the spider is. It could be the smallest little dot, and it gets on. He screams like a little girl. It's hilarious.
I don't get it.
Listen, be like, hey, thanks a lot, bro. Spiders, but he is absolutely petrified of them. There were two things he was scared of that I remember growing up, and since I'm going to put him on full blast, was spiders and Bigfoot.
Really? Bigfoot? Oh my God.
terrified that Bigfoot was out in the woods somewhere, just waiting.
That's so funny. They, and back onto spiders, scientists think it's an evolutionary trait, like, because we evolved in Africa, and they believe that some people are born with an innate or a born fear of spiders and snakes, because back in the day, when we were in Africa, we had to avoid venomous spiders or venomous snakes. It was just ingrained in us, because those who weren't afraid of snakes, they would end up getting bit sometimes and they would die. So they've shown shapes of snakes and spiders to newborn infants, and there are some infants that are like, I'm good, like I'm scared. They'll start crying because they don't like that. So it is interesting. There's science behind why some of us are terrified of those creatures.
Yeah, and I've got a good friend of mine same way, like just terrified. I saved this one for the last question, wondering if it's controversial or not. So what are your thoughts on now I don't necessarily have thoughts one way or the other on this, and I have not watched the documentary.
I think I know what's coming. Go ahead.
Blackfin.
Blackfin. You mean blackfish?
Blackfish. Yeah. See the whole SeaWorld thing. Like what's your thoughts on a place like SeaWorld?
Okay, so my thoughts on SeaWorld. This is so funny. We actually talk about this a lot on the Animals to the Max podcast. I had an interview with someone who was on Blackfish and who used to be a SeaWorld trainer. And I remember I had that interview saved for almost 2 years, and I did not release it because I was so scared of the backlash from this. And I thought, oh, man, I just need to release it. So my thoughts on SeaWorld. So SeaWorld is, okay, so they are a facility that is one of the top marine zoological facilities in the world that rescues thousands and thousands and thousands of stranded marine mammals and other animals every year. So they honestly, they do so much for that. What they did back in the 1970s when they were capturing orcas and, taking them out of the wild, is that something I agree with? No, but they stopped doing that, and the organization has evolved to, be more conservation based. They donate millions to conservation. We've learned, like, what we know about killer whales is from research that has been done at SeaWorld. And I have interned there at a couple of the parks, and some of the top facilities I've ever been. The animals are just in top-notch care. Just their protocols, their facilities are great. So, and like I said, the work they do for stranded marine animals, and I think zoos and aquariums, we are evolving. So, I talk like I'm a zoo, but we really are, and they're going towards more conservation based, more naturalistic enclosures. Zoos back in the 70s, SeaWorld back in the 70s is different from what they're doing now. So,
yeah. Okay. So I can still take my kids to SeaWorld.
And
without feeling guilty.
And honestly, like, I'm from Idaho, a landlocked state. So when I went to SeaWorld Orlando when I was a kid, that was my only connection to marine animals. And when I was a kid or a teenager doing those internships, those camps were amazing. Like, I got to work with killer whales and stuff that I never would have been able to work with without SeaWorld. So honestly, the work they do, the money they donate to conservation, and they rescue so many animals. I recently had someone, it's so interesting, Ron McGill from Zoo Miami. He's a super famous guy. He does like ESPN radio. He's been on TV. He's been on TV for like 45 years. We talked about Blackfish yesterday on my podcast, Animals to the Max, and he said one thing that SeaWorld did not do well is promote how much they do for stranded marine animals and the rescue work. They didn't do it well, and they focus more on the showy aspect and people dancing in costumes and all the theatrical stuff when they could have been focusing more on the work they do. And he's right. I completely agree with that.
Well, from somebody, SeaWorld's an hour and a half away from me. So like a couple years ago, we actually had annual passes and we took the kids down. I actually got to bring my oldest daughter, just a daddy-daughter day.
Yeah.
We went down there and did the dolphin experience where she could actually go down a dolphin and be able to feed a dolphin. And it was awesome. It was incredible. But being an hour and a half away from them, we hear a lot of the things that they do as far as conservation, or even on the news, it'd be like, a manatee was stranded in, such and such a place, or was hit by a boat, and SeaWorld came and picked him up, took him to their facility to, for medical attention. So we hear a lot of those things. So to see a documentary like that come out, talking about how bad they are and all that, I didn't want to watch it, because I think a lot of times documentaries, they're trying to deliver a certain point.
Well, they have an agenda. Yeah.
They have an agenda. So it's not necessarily a accurate representation of what they are. So that's kind of why I was like, I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to see it. And every time I'd gone was an amazing experience. And, all the animals in great form, in great care. And then, of course, like you said, all the research and all the preservation they do, I think are fantastic. So
I think so. And I mean, Blackfish was a good documentary in the sense that it got people talking, and unfortunately it did have that agenda, and some of the things they brought up, it was not right. Like I do not think taking marine animals like whales out of the wild and putting them in tanks is a great thing. It's something they don't do anymore. But look, on the flip side, every year have you ever seen The Cove?
No.
Oh my God, it's horrific, where they slaughter hundreds, I think sometimes thousands of dolphins off the coast of Japan for food. So it's like, it's horrific. So people who are against SeaWorld, why don't you focus your efforts on stuff that is still happening in the world? I mean, there's only like 40 something orcas. Don't quote me on this, but in captivity. Why don't you focus on some of the stuff happening in the wild? Yeah, I mean, I would way rather be in a SeaWorld facility than being in Japan right now being slaughtered, and it's just horrific. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
You talked about it on one of your YouTube videos, the shark one, where you were dressed up as a shark with the shark.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Well, and the problem with the shark fin soup and them slaughtering sharks for
100 million a year. Blows my mind. 100 million sharks a year. It just blows my mind.
So, man, Corbin, I mean, we're kind of, like I said, running on time, but I would just want to thank you for all the work that you're doing, the interest that you put in my kids from just sitting and watching, like you said, the short 2-minute, 5-minute videos of just, getting into nature, and they can see that, certain things aren't as scary necessarily as we think they are, when it comes to like, now listen, I'm not going to handle a hissing cockroach.
I could send you one, man. I could send you one in the mail, man. I have so many of them.
Yeah, no, please don't.
You're good. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. Like, there's certain things I'm like, oh man, I would get in and try it. Like, I would be nervous, with the alligators and things like that, because just from being around them as much as we are in Florida, just having that respect for them and not knowing how to necessarily get in and handle them. But I would love to like get in and work with them and do things like that. But yeah, there's other things that, like the creepy crawlies are, a little bit, I think I'd have to work my way into that one. Yeah. But it, the kids that were watching, like I said, watching all the videos, and from that, they're wanting to watch other things that, involve animals. So just putting a love for nature, just through what you're putting out, I want to thank you for doing that. And before we go, I want you to tell everybody again where they can find you on, online, on social media, like give all your info.
Hey, thank you for the compliment, by the way. And it makes all the hours of editing and putting all that stuff together. It makes it worth it when you hear that people are watching. You're like, oh, this is cool, man. So so thank you so much. So you can find me across all the social media platforms, Corbin Maxey, CorbinMaxey on, at Corbin Maxey on Instagram. You can like our page on Facebook, Twitter. TikTok is just Corbin_Maxey. And you can listen to the Animals to the Max podcast, which is available wherever you listen to podcasts, on iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, CorbinMaxey.com, Google, and you should type in animals. And I think we're the third one that comes out on iTunes. So over 155 episodes. It's a show about animals and people who dedicate their lives to them. So we've had amazing guests on that show. And by the way, if your daughter wants to learn more about the Pink River Dolphins, we had Suzanne Smith from the Pink River Dolphin Foundation on the show a few months. Anyway, so there's a bunch of awesome free content and information that you can, that's out there.
Yeah, I will definitely go and find that one and direct that to her for sure. She's about to turn 12, so she'll turn 12 next month.
Perfect.
Yeah, right in that age and learning all sorts of new stuff. So,
Yes.
Corbin, thank you so much for being on the show and taking the time. And man, I appreciate it so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, and I forgot to mention YouTube. We're so active on YouTube, so subscribe to my YouTube channel, Corbin Maxey, and I'll continue to put out videos, man. I appreciate you watching.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
All right. What is up, everybody? I hope that you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. I had a great time. Like I said, the dude is just a ball of energy, and I love it. It's infectious, and he got some great information to you about animals, all shapes and sizes of animals, and I had just a fun time talking to him, and then I had a great time listening back to it and listening to the podcast again as I was doing all the editing and stuff like that. And man, he's just an awesome dude. As always, make sure you head over to DukeCannon.com and pick up Duke Cannon Supply Company for all of your toiletry needs. So if you are looking for some great stocking stuffers, I say it slowly, so I say it right. Stocking stuffers, they are the best. You can get the solid cologne. You can get the, I was going to say perfume, but it's not perfume. It's shampoo pucks, the blocks of soap, the BABOS, the big ass bar of soap. I mean, they just got all the products. So go over there, check it out. BBWEX 10B is your promo code, or BBWEX 11 will also be a promo code for you that will get you 10% off. So get over there, order it today, get yourself hooked up. Now, I have a favor to ask you. I'm going to do some posts on Instagram. So I need you guys to go over to Instagram if you are not a follower already. Wex Appeal Podcast. So it's Instagram at Wex Appeal Podcast. Go like the page, check it out. And I'm going to post some things on there. We have some people that we want to bring on the show, and I've been trying to contact them and things like that. And I mean, these are famous people, so they don't always get my first text. However, if all of you help and tag these people, we could get them on the show. I am confident that we could get them on the show. So one thing that I did do is I was at Target the other day. I'm going to reach back here. Okay. So I was at Target the other day, and I picked up a figure. And this is actually my very, very first pop vinyl figure that I've ever bought. I always thought they were cool. Never really went into the whole collector's thing. But I like collecting things. As you can see behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, you've got all my stuff. You've got all sorts of weird things. But I bought this pop vinyl Cara Dune, which is awesome. It's a bobblehead. It's never going to open. Like, it'll be in this box forever, because whenever you buy collectibles and things like that, you always keep them sealed. So it will never come out of the box. But I would love to have Cara Dune, Gina Carano, on the show as an interview. And if you would like to see that interview, she is one of the stars of The Mandalorian. She is a former American Gladiator when they did the American Gladiator show reboot. I forget what year, but fairly recently. Recently in the past decade. But she was one of the American Gladiators, and she's also a former MMA fighter. Amazing person, and just seems like a really cool person, somebody that I like to talk to. So tag her if you're on Instagram at Gina J. Carano, and tell her you want to see her on the Wex Appeal Podcast show. Let's see if it works. We'll have fun with it. We'll have a good time. That's today's show. Make sure you head over to Instagram. If you got one of our shirts, first of all, thank you if you bought one of our shirts. If you got one of our shirts, make sure once you receive them, they're going to be shipping out sometime this week, and take a picture with them, tag us, put it on Instagram so that we can, thank you, and also so we can put them up on the Instagram stories and pages and things like that. We just want to get involved. I want to get out there. I want to get out there and talk to you guys, and let's have some fun with this thing. So that's the show for today. If I don't speak to you again before Christmas, because Christmas falls on a Friday, and that's usually when I try to release podcasts on Fridays. Lately it's been Mondays, but if I don't see you before then, Merry Christmas. I hope you have an amazing time with your family. 10 or less. We don't want to get in trouble. But I hope you have an amazing time with your family. I hope that the holidays treat you well, that you have fun, that you're safe, and that it's just an amazing time where we can kind of put 2020 in the rearview mirror and focus on 2021 as a brand new year, brand new start for all of us, and hope that we can just excel and go further and further each and every year. And we hope this podcast gets bigger and bigger each and every year. So with that, you guys have a very Merry Christmas, have a happy holidays, and we will see you soon.